and Leon told the teacher that he was the one paying for everything here. So why did he eventually decide to go with Hanul and not him? The man replied that it's obvious. Leon is in the preliminary fights in Hanam-dong while Hanul is in Cheongho-dong, and an old man like him prefers to go somewhere closer instead of dragging himself far away. Leon tisked and said that the man could at least give some advice before the fight. He went to the car and said he was getting out of here. The teacher yelled for him to stand. The guy turned around and asked if he had decided to wish him luck. He would at least honor him a little as a student after all. But the man told him that he had to give him and Hanul a ride to the venue. The boy was surprised, and the man told him to step aside because the teacher would sit down first. The boy was indignant, since the man hadn't authorized anything yet. On the way, Hanul thought about the fact that finally, his first step on the path to Gangdaechun had begun. He wondered why everyone was so nosy around this competition. How significant is this GT League? Once outside the stadium, he noticed a sign that read, GT League Cheongho-dong Stage 1. There wasn't a single person around and the guy thought it was kind of empty. The teacher explained that this was how they wanted to avoid bloodshed. When the first tournament started, a bunch of school bullies and petty thugs congregated in one place. As a result, there were some who were sent to the hospital even before the tournament started. After that incident, the participants were notified of the time and place right on the day of the event, and each match was held at a different location. Now the boy understood why there were no souls here. A man with glasses and a folder in his hand approached them. He adjusted his glasses and asked if he was Gang Hanul, the second member of Cheongho-dong. The guy nodded affirmatively. The man handed him an eye mask and asked him to put it on. It's necessary to prevent fights before the fight starts. He realizes it seems silly, but those are the rules. The teacher put his hand on his shoulder and told him to close his eyes first before taking off his goggles. He doesn't really want to see him showing off without his glasses. The guy did as the teacher advised him and said that it still bothers him that when he takes them off, he's a completely different person. Not to mention that this competition does have a bunch of weird rules. The guy pulled the mask over his eyes, and the man repeated that if the guy started showing off, he'd finish him off himself. Hanul replied that even without his glasses he could tell who was the bad type and who wasn't, so he had nothing to worry about. Thinking back to the past days, he suddenly realized that beating up these bandits was something he enjoyed more than he thought. The mere thought of it immediately makes him indescribably excited, especially if it's someone strong like Han Cheol. What a thrill. In a small room, mats were spread out. Han Cheol and Hanyul were facing each other, one man sitting sideways in a chair, and a camera on a tripod next to him. Hanyul's teacher stood outside the door, poised at its window, watching and thinking that they should have let at least someone they knew be present. Just then, Haru appeared and asked if it had already started. Her uncle looked at her and replied that he thought it was just about to start. The girl said that there were rumors that a bunch of strong people came out from Cheongho-dong in the second stage of the tournament, which meant that the point level would be high among them. The man looked at the opponents inside the room and said that at this rate, he would be glad if he didn't need an ambulance at least. Haru asked him if he thought that Han Cheol was much more than what was being said about him. That's when the red-haired man shouted to the judge, "When are they going to start?" The man in the chair yawned, put his foot on his leg and said they could start. Haru was surprised and asked, shouldn't he be a little attentive? The man replied that a fight between high school students isn't considered something serious. They're basically slightly big kids who smoke and drink beer in their free time, that's all. Because of this, it's very rare to see a high schooler be able to surpass the barrier of weight classes. The referee has probably already decided for himself that the fight will end quickly. Right now, he's probably contemplating where to go for a drink with his friends. At this point, the referee turns to Han Cheol, calling him a big guy and telling him to just punch the guy once and they'll split up. He's actually a busybody and... He didn't get a chance to finish as Han Cheol landed the first punch with his fist on Han Cheol's jaw. Everyone watching was shocked. Haru asked her uncle, did Han Cheol really have a chance of winning? The man confidently replied that no, there was no way that guy would lie down after one punch. Now he would take action. The red-haired man held his ground, looked at the guy angrily and asked him if he still had the courage to attack him. While he was squatting and talking, Hanul attacked again, but this time with a knee to the face. The teacher looked at him in surprise and wondered how fast this idiot had become in just a week of training. The man fell on his back and the guy wanted to step on his neck with his foot. Haru asked if that was the end of it. The uncle replied that it was, but for Han Cheol. Han Cheol was able to grab his leg, one hand on his foot, the other on his shin. Haru freaked out and said he was going to twist Hanul's ankle. He could break it. The man on the mat apologized and said that regardless of points, handicapped people can't participate in the tournament. The man turned the guy's leg, but the guy turned with his whole body and attacked with his other leg, but the man was able to cover his head. Haru wondered, how come? She had seen his ankle twisted. The teacher looked contentedly at the fighting and replied that it was instincts. His body automatically turned in the same pattern as his ankle. Hanchiel was getting more and more angry and realized that he needed to deal with the guy right now. He pushed the guy away from him. The guy flew off a little and stopped on the edge of the mat. Hanul realized that he was finished if he was grabbed like that one more time. The man got to his feet and the guy couldn't believe that none of this had any effect on the big guy. The man wiped his face with his hand and said, admitting that he was pretty fast. Except what was he going to do after he had withstood his blow? Now that his finishing blow didn't do anything, it was dangerous to just approach him like that. And even if he just dodges his grabs, he'll still get him eventually. So he was left with only one option. He looked towards the teacher and the man smiled and said that it looked like the idiot had finally realized something. Haru asked if he had any chance of winning. Hanul pounced on his opponent and the man asked, does he really think this will work again? But as he got closer, the guy abruptly stepped back in a groan, fell to one side and landed a kick on the man's leg. But the man only smirked and said he told you it's all useless. He aimed his fist at the guy's face with all his speed, but hit the mat next to him. Hanul managed to bounce away but flew back against the wall. He could have sworn he missed. So why did he feel like he was about to pass out? Haru asked, because the last time Hanul attacked him like that it didn't work. So why is he doing it again? But the guy got up again and started attacking. This is his only chance to win. Unlike his upper body, his legs should be much more vulnerable. When the guy was already close to his opponent, the guy grabbed him, lifted him up in his arms and then sealed him into the floor. Blood spurted from the guy's mouth and he lay unmoving. Hanchiel went over to him and told him that all weaklings like him need to do is just live their lives in fear of the strong. Seeing the minnow try to make a hero of himself only made him more eager to crush him. The man raised his foot and was about to step on the kid's head, but Hanul smiled crazily, lifted himself up, and kicked the man's knee. The man fell to one knee but smirked evilly and said it wouldn't work on him. When he saw the guy rushing toward him again, he said he was totally stupid, but he was tired of playing with him anyway. Hanul aimed his fist at the man's stomach, and the man raised both hands, preparing to punch the guy with his fist from above. Haru yelled for them to stop. He wouldn't be able to avoid getting hurt this time. And the teacher was surprised and said, wasn't that? At this moment, Hanchiol's body stiffened. He thought, what the hell is this? He can't move. He can't feel his legs at all. Can't block. He started to scramble backwards, and when the guy's fist was already near his face, he screamed that this is impossible. How could someone like him beat him? Hanul punched him in the face. Everyone watched in shock as the man fell to the floor, and thought there was no way that could be. Haru asked how Hanul was able to overpower him in such a situation. The teacher proudly replied that it was accumulated damage. The girl said that he had just stood perfectly on his feet after all. Her uncle asked her if she had ever seen a structure that would collapse slowly and systematically during an earthquake. For example, the supports of a bridge are capable of supporting a 10-point load, but in reality that support is only loaded with a 5-point load. Even if the support is damaged and its tensile strength is reduced to 5, the bridge will still be able to handle its weight. But if it were to drop by even 0.01 to 4.99, the support would not be able to handle the load and would collapse almost immediately. You have to remember that this guy has already taken a lot of hits to his legs. All this time he hadn't moved from his seat. The girl realized why Hanul kept attacking his legs. Hanul looked at the referee.